And welcome to bexbugoutsurvivor. A short while ago you may recall I was trying to film something about the tarps, the difference between the soldier's setup and the trekker's setup. First of all, I have the old-fashioned way, which is a basher on bungees connected to the pegs. A more modern take on that soldiers will use is your basher connected to jungle knots connected to your pegs. And I also have kind of a civilian camping tarp as well, and that is just staked straight to the ground. Now I haven't bought my giant sil nylon tarp, but this might give you opportunity to pinch ideas from different bits of these setups and put it on your own. This is the setup where the bungees are pre-connected to the perimeter, and then the actual pegs are connected to the bungees. MTP and a DPM, so you can take your pick. Back into the pack, this is a trekking tarp here. It's one of them little cheap DD ones, get these 30-40 quid I think. I've also included I think 10 pegs, but they're not pre-connected, so this is some of the differences we're going to look at. So some of the connection points from the tree to the ridge will be different. Just on one tarp alone I can show you several, but generally for a soldier's basher everything's pre-connected. Section of paracord, again doesn't have to be the good stuff. Get it folded in half like that, so the two tail ends meet, so you can find the halfway section. Once you've got that halfway section, get your head end or your foot end of your tarp, and we're going to create a lark's head hitch. So I've put that in like that, open up the loop, bring the two tails through. Each of these tails go around the tree. If I want a night out under the stars, just with this and a sleeping bag, I pitch overhead height like that while I'm squatted or sat down. Gives me enough room if I want to sit up to do a bit of cooking under the tarp. A basher, however, British Army, is a lot lower down, a lot lower. So it is not hip height where I would have my DD tarp. It is between my kneecap and my hip, somewhere there, so it's there on the tree. That's where my DD is well above hip height, so when I'm sat I have some headroom. On the corner of the basher I didn't need all 5 loops, instead I came to loop number 3. It's further from the ground here because it's stretched out further. Choosing a loop closer to the basher brings it lower to the ground, and it doesn't need to be any higher than this because I'm only lying down. British Army basher is slung a lot lower and a lot wider. Have ventilation coming through, and sat in front of it there is no headroom here to sit up, which is the way it's meant to be. So this is how a soldier would set up his basher. Let's try the same thing but with the DD tarp. I set it up a lot higher. So I have changed out to jungle knots. This is the sort of height for camping. Got plenty of room to sit up here and have my stove at the end and do all my ablutions, cooking and admin here. I'm in the process of fitting jungle knots and some more MSR groundhogs, and I'm happy with this. It's great in the summer this. However, you can go lighter with sil nylon, but I keep that from the hammock. It's not too bad this for a bit of camping, but the weight is significantly more than the sill, so poly is more than sill. Okay, there's another one fitted. How many more have we got to do? Got 2 there, 1 there is 3, that's 4. It's just my preference, and I know a lot of people are going to say it's going to tangle. If my jungle knots have never tangled with my bashes, I'm not about to tangle with these either. MSR groundhogs are ample. It'll take 10, but I use 6. I've got a quick release mechanism and it ties exactly like a shoelace. If you can tie your shoes, you can put this tarping system up. Go around the back of this tree, bring it back towards me. It's an overhand knot, just like any other part of the shoelace. On the bow, it's quite high up, it's on my chest, and I can move this further towards the tree, further away. Now I always get it in the comments, why don't I just use one line spanning tree to tree with a prosic, and then I can slide my tarp left and right. bexbugoutsurvivor strives to find you something different to view. A lot of you, and I'm going to be brutally honest and harsh with you, are like bloody sheep. You know the one method and you're not interested in finding any other alternative method, which is fine by me. Just don't watch my channel. They know the one method and will not differ or even allow anyone else to have a preference for anything different. That's called dictatorship. I think they'd go down well in these countries that need a new dictator. We could even change your name to Adolf, couldn't we? Right, there you go. You know how to tie a shoelace. You can put this up. Option 1. Doesn't take long. It's nice tonal coyote brown. Blends in so much better. If I pull these tail ends, it releases from that tree there. I just go over to the other tree and release it in the same way. Now I'm going to put up another tarp. Now it's obvious you're going to get a lot lighter with this civilian kit. We're going to look at some of the heavier kit now, which is for bashers. One is going to incorporate bungees in the permanent state, and the other is going to have jungle knots in the permanent state. And this technique with the bungees is not my favoured method, but I'm going to show it you anyway, because it is a method. And then after we've had a look at the DPM method with bungees, we'll look at the MTP with jungle knots, which is my favoured method, as well as this. Anyway, let's have a look at this nightmare of a tarp system I'm going to do now. British Army will either give you 10 of these bungees, or if you're ACF, you might have to buy yourself 10 bungees. You will need 3-foot sections, and they're 8mm. And yes, I don't know why on the packet it goes from metric into imperial, but it does. Not my bad, don't shoot. I'm not keen on keeping this in the basher bag. It just takes too long to put away. This has been connected in shoelace system for your head and foot, and for the perimeter, something different for you again. The way this has been connected is via bungee, and the bungees are connected to the IPK stakes in the permanent state. So, perimeter here connected to a bungee, which is your 3-foot 8mm, and I had to get pliers to squeeze that gap there onto it. And again, same with the IPK. I don't like this bungee system. It is unnecessarily heavy. Jungle knots are a lot lighter. Round the back of the tree, tie in a shoelace knot. In my experience, the bungee method is heavier, tangles up more. I don't like it already. This is slowing me down, having to untangle everything. It's the hooks on the bungees, hence why a lot of soldiers will not use this method anymore. It's very outmoded. Right, I do have a bit of paracord showing. That must mean I have one end. There's the other. Gosh, time consuming. It's not so bad to break camp, but it can be a bit of a nightmare. But unlike that end there that I used, kind of a shoelace, which I'll show you in a minute, this is a permanent state trucker's hitch, which means the loop is already in on that side. The way you adjust your height for an army basher is, I'll show you now, you don't set it at a height for your head. The DD tarp I can set quite high up the tree, sort of over my head, to give a comfortable space. When you're putting out your army basher for better concealment, you'll be trained to put it somewhere between your kneecap and your hip. Right, let's tighten it the other end. If you can tie a shoelace, you can do this first knot, and it is quick release. It's a very good little beginner's way to move or adjust the height of this. Just move it down the tree like that. The ground here is very firm, so I won't be able to peg out. But before I take this down, I'll show you a couple of tricks. If this section is too long, get your bungee, just put an overhand knot in it, and that is shortened it now from 1 metre to about 1/4 of a metre. And that is how you get your adjustment. I did tell you this end here is a little different. It's kind of like a trucker's hitch. A trucker's hitch will need a loop. Now, I'm not going to show you the full trucker's hitch. Look for it on YouTube. There you go. The tail end goes around the tree. This is the tail end here. Round the tree, back through the loop, and we can tighten off. You need this loop. However, my loop is actually here, already tied into the ridge. Pull that. That's down. Come over to my little beginner's shoelace tarp knot. That's down. The bit I don't like again is everything is going to get tangled with those bungees, and I will be taking these bungees off when I get in favour of something else I prefer. But it was important to show all the aspects of this bit of tarping. Next we come to the MTP. This is the one on jungle knots. I'm not going to show you a close-up or anything of the jungle knots, but what I will do is leave you the link to part 1 of this video when we made jungle knots and showed you how to fit them to the basher. Again, pre-attached are the IPKs to the basher. Jungle knots. Again, these go round the tree. I don't have to worry about keeping the count of the pegs or the stakes. Don't worry about losing them or anything like that. Just put that in there for now. I can always adjust it left and right as I go. There's no need for Pro 6 to slide your kit. It's such a simple feat just to move it a little. I'm trying out a different method here on these jungle knots, which I might show you on a different video. I want to see how these are tangling up. Now, in my experience, they might appear to have tangled up, but a quick shake and they all come apart. There you go. Only a couple of seconds to sort that out. Nothing has tangled with this system. Let's get the center point out, guide that out. Now for demonstration, I'm setting this quite high just so it can be seen with the camera. In reality, like I said, it's going to be slung a lot lower. Again, I don't have to worry about losing this stake here. I'll just find some suitable ground. And the ground is very tough here, but nothing's tangled. There you have it. It's a lovely shelter. Let's have a look at the tones. A load of you in the comments always tell me that DPM is your favourite camo. I always say you need to adapt your camo to the correct terrain and environment. For instance, I wouldn't have a DPM out in snow. This is for a desert environment when all the leaves are falling in the UK. That blends in an absolute picture. I love it to bits. It's a little bit longer than the DPM, so it's going to be a little heavier. So I've saved a bit of space by not having bungees, but having the jungle knots there. The reason why soldiers have these quick release jungle knots and even pre-attach here with the pegs to the jungle knots is it can be broken down really quickly, and then it can be packed away quickly. The bit that's going to slow this down is rolling it and folding it and getting it back into its BASHA bag. That's why I like a BASHA pouch that's been sewn onto the front of my Bergen, and it is shoved in, not rolled, not folded. It's loose filled. It's a lot quicker, and then that way you have that ability to go quickly. If I start rolling and folding this and putting it back into its bag, it's just going to take that 5 minutes longer. But let's break down anyway. Jungle knots. Let's see if I can just get this out nice and quick with that. And the same here, I just pull it down. Jungle knots can pick up debris, so just be aware of that. It's no big deal for me. Now, it doesn't take an inordinate amount of time, but it's time I could be best served with being on the move rather than doing this. If you're wild camping, it won't matter. You'll have all the time in the world to roll and fold your bashes, your tarps. Okay, we come to my closing thoughts on these systems. Evidently, the camping tarp is going to be far lighter, and I am going to weigh each of these now. Each of these I have shown you have been in the stuff sack. This is fine in the stuff sack. There's nothing wrong with that. This is in the bum roll. Now, if you're trying to move in a hurry, you do have to fold it in a certain way and then roll it and then put it back in. I think having a BASHA pouch actually fitted to your Bergen is a lot better. Just stuff it straight in and gone. Only my thoughts on that. This is the old-fashioned BASHA bag, and this time all the pegs and everything have gone in here with the bungees, but again, it takes a certain folding technique to do it. and that certain folding technique can take up a bit of time. Let's get these weighed off and I'll tell you what all the components are in each of these, and then we'll give it the weight. Move my hat, put this one down. The DD 3x3 also includes 10 MSR groundhogs. I'll give you the weight of that now. This is the MTP. I'll be weighing it with the BASHA bag. This includes 6 IPK stakes from the IPK system, as well as 6 tie-outs on jungle knots and the jungle knots head and foot. And finally, this, I'm going to guess, is probably the heaviest. DPM BASHA, 6 IPK stakes, 6 bungees, and yes, I have connected head and foot with line, but really there should be another 4 bungees to make this authentic. Now, whatever you choose is going to work. You're going to have a preference for one of them, or none of them, or a couple of them. There's nothing wrong with mixing and matching as well. For instance, I like the jungle knots, and I also like the permanent state trucker's hitch loop. So there's 2 ideas I can marry up onto one tarp. If I don't want to have the pegs permanently attached, I don't have to. However, I like it, so I might continue with that. Anyway, back home to try and get just one tarp for camping, all organised, ready for my next outing. And yes, I am going to take them bungees off. I don't like that technique. With bungees, it can tangle a lot, and it's a bit of a pig to keep untangled when you're putting it away. However, jungle knots are simplistic. Anyway, I'm going to leave all these thoughts with you. Get out into your backyard, mix, match, marry up some different elements from different techniques you're seeing there. Squirrel. Until next time, take care of yourself and I'll see you out there. Happy trails.